clear. Go.
Cyberpunk 2077 is arriving this year, and oh boy, I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it.
The massive Cyberpunk RPG is CD Projekt Red's next behemoth of a game, and it already looks to be just as much of a time sink as The Witcher 3.
Set in Night City, Cyberpunk 2077 has the same gritty tone as The Witcher 3, yet its world, with its cybernetically enhanced humans, neon commercials and, oh yeah, autonomous cars, couldn't be more different from Geralt's fantasy land. But CD Projekt Red has learnt a lot from creating The Witcher 3's staggeringly detailed, immersive world with all its quests, characters and locations. Cyberpunk 2077 is a chance for CD Projekt Red to take those lessons and not only apply them to the dystopian sci-fi world, but also improve upon areas which weren't even issues during the development of The Witcher 3.
And really, it's no wonder considering CD Projekt Red spent 4 years making The Witcher 3, and they want to use the lessons they learned in the development of making Cyberpunk... What's going on? Hey, ow! What's that for?
Oh, it's like the Netflix show, Toss a Coin at Your Witcher. It's relevant.
No, it's Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, that's how the song goes.
Oh well.
Anyway, as I was saying... No! What? Ow! Ow, stop!
Anyway, here's 10 things The Witcher 3 taught Cyberpunk 2077. In The Witcher 3, you had sweeping landscapes and medieval settlements, with forests and dirt roads scattered in between. Buildings rarely had more than a couple of floors, with only castles or Kaer Morhen towering up into the sky. Night City, on the other hand, is crammed full of skyscrapers, elevated highways and apartment blocks. Martha Yonkers, senior concept artist and coordinator, spoke with official PlayStation magazine about the differences between the two worlds.
Yonkers mentions how Night City's vertical nature radically changed how they thought about exploration, because in The Witcher 3 it wasn't really something they had to think about. Yonkers mentions...
Yonkers says that CD Projekt Red has this option of vertical exploration that it didn't really have in The Witcher, as the map was way more spread out. So there's now a lot of ways of going up and down, and of exploring all the different levels squeezed into Night City. And Yonkers makes it sound like there's absolutely loads to explore. She says that the developers try to make sure that around almost every corner there's something interesting. So when you're in one place, if you look around, there will definitely be something else to catch your eye.
Because if there's one way to measure a great RPG, it's how easily you get distracted, despite the fact that you told yourself this time you were going to do the main quest with absolutely no... Oh, what's that over there?
Stating the obvious here, but The Witcher 3's DLCs Blood and Wine and Heart of Stone are excellent additions to the already massive game.
Yeah, no
Thanks, Ian. These DLCs taught CD Projekt Red that not only do players love free, high-quality story content, obviously, but that there needs to be a roadmap of updates for Cyberpunk 2077 if it's going to thrive for years after launch in the same way as The Witcher 3. Level designer Max Pears mentioned in an interview with VGC that CD Projekt Red are looking into what it can do for Cyberpunk 2077's post-release DLCs.
According to Pears, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to have a DLC post-launch plan. Plus, if needed, some extra quality of life updates, like tweaks to the UI, depending on player feedback.
Sounds like the team learnt a bunch from The Witcher 3, and Pears also says that they'll be applying the same strategy to Cyberpunk 2077's DLC, that they developed with the release of Heart and Stone and Blood and Wine way back in 2015. Strategy could mean anything from how long after the main game DLCs release, or having the DLCs released within months of each other like The Witcher, or, I don't know, marketing? Anything, really. Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be huge.
Yeah, No Sherlock.
Seriously, what is it with the sarcasm today? Not only because of the sheer size of the locations, but also in terms of the buckets of quests that are going to litter the game. Whether they're hidden in alleyways or behind dialogue with an apparently inconsequential NPC, Cyberpunk 2077's open world is going to give us plenty to do. Speaking to The Telegraph, Mateusz Tomaszkiewicz, Cyberpunk 2077's quest director, says that the team are learning lessons from The Witcher 3 and how you combine an open world with interesting, non-linear narrative which has choices with lasting consequences. That could involve side quests that become unavailable if you didn't come across a particular NPC or scripted event, or have a less than optimal relationship with a character who would otherwise ask you for help. According to Tomaszkiewicz, CD Projekt Red are taking it even further than they did with The Witcher 3, and are adding gameplay choices to their open world and non-linear narrative.
That means, unlike The Witcher 3 in Cyberpunk 2077, you can create your very own character and play through quests in different ways. Perhaps... Ow! Aoife! Ah!
Perhaps you want to go in accompanied by a storm of bullets or sneak in the shadows to avoid combat. Extra attention has been paid to character development and making sure you have the option to play however you want. Because in Cyberpunk 2077, you have control over how V behaves. Geralt was already his own character in The Witcher, with his own personality which, apart from various dialogue choices and the gear you wear, as well as your fondness for Gwent, you didn't have much control over. The Witcher 3's quests are hard to forget. Whether it's consoling a troll who accidentally killed his beloved soldiers or helping an old woman get her frying pan back, they tend to stick in your memory. That's partly thanks to the fact that each and every one of them is handcrafted by the folks at CD Projekt Red. Unsurprisingly, people tend to like/adore these kinds of quests, so they're definitely sticking around for Cyberpunk 2077. Mateusz Tomaszkiewicz says that the same attention to detail and craftsmanship when it comes to quests is being applied to Cyberpunk 2077. He mentions in an interview with The Telegraph that although handcrafting quests is a lot of effort, it gives each mission a personal touch that ends up being noticeable to players. In his own words, it creates this impression that there's something unique you find in the world, something that was tailored for you and that you can immerse yourself in. Cyberpunk 2077 does bring its own unique challenges to this process though.
Now that there's a lot of different gameplay factors involved in quests, multiple departments like the writers, the cinematics team and the gameplay team all have to come together to make sure quests work as intended. Working together like a happy family, so wholesome.
It's all worth it to create quests that will stick in players' minds, although you might want to prepare yourself as there's a decent chance you'll miss a couple of quests in your first playthrough. Which leads me on to... With lots of handcrafted missions comes, well, lots of content. Tomaszkiewicz mentions in his interview that when he was lead quest designer for The Witcher 3, there was a fear that there was some stuff that players might just never see. Although it was initially thought to be an issue, Tomaszkiewicz says that after a shift in thinking, the team at CD Projekt Red decided it was actually a good thing.
Because different people will experience the game differently, it means that when they're chatting to friends, they can revel in the delight that there are still quests to find and creatures to fight. The same goes for Cyberpunk 2077. Oh god, this game's gonna ruin me, isn't it?
A lot that worked in The Witcher 3 is being carried over to Cyberpunk 2077, with just one of those things, in addition to all the other ones in this list, being how your relationship with characters changes depending on how you engage with the content, as Tomaszkiewicz puts it. Things like did you complete side quests and presumably how you interact with them dialogue-wise affect how these characters think of you. In Cyberpunk 2077, it's taken even further than deciding whether you want to kiss Triss or not by having main storyline paths locked behind specific side content.
Not only is it based around whether you did these side quests, but whether you found them too. Sounds like some of these side quests that directly impact the main story may have been hidden somewhere in the game. It's time to go hunting for some side quests, folks. Where are them side quests then?
The Witcher 3's locations were varied. True. Yet because The Witcher 3 is a fantasy world, whether you're in the wintry isles of Skellige or the colourful landscapes of Toussaint, there's still the possibility of assets being reused. That could be a stack of crates or simply a bed of flowers. Night City, however, is a capitalist, consumerist paradise. So things are constantly in flux, evolving, changing to tempt people to buy more and consume more.
Which means CD Projekt Red can't reuse assets as much as they did in The Witcher 3, because these assets have to change regularly. So, Skellige and Novigrad were, broadly speaking, same kind of medieval towns, so assets could be shared between them, but Night City requires much more variety.
The hustle and bustle of Cyberpunk 2077 simply requires many more assets than you need for building a fantasy world. Tomascovich mentions that Night City is a very consumerist society with a lot of TV commercials, giving CD Projekt Red a number of problems it never had to solve on The Witcher. The city is so complex that Cyberpunk 2077 even has an urban planner. They map out what the city requires, such as communication networks, shops, services, or facilities. Wow. Working on The Witcher 3 taught the folks at CD Projekt Red that optimising the game on all platforms was critical.
It turns out that most people, regardless of platform, want massive RPGs that suck you in for hundreds of hours with their quests, characters, and absorbing settings. Surprising, right?
Tomascovich mentions in his interview with The Telegraph that Cyberpunk 2077 is still in development to have the best possible quality of graphics, with a very experienced team currently working on optimising it for every platform it'll be released on. He says that CD Projekt Red has also introduced a number of improvements to the engine to make it even easier for the team to make it look as good as possible.
So, as Tomascovich says, there are plenty of people who want to play Cyberpunk 2077 regardless of the platform, be it PC, PS4 or Xbox One. I'm shocked, tells thee. Shocked!
Level designer Pal Sasko, in an interview with Eurogamer, wouldn't you know it, says that one of the things CD Projekt Red learnt from The Witcher 3 was that you shouldn't delay working on the console versions. Ever. Sasko mentions that at all times there's a version of Cyberpunk 2077 running for everything, by which I assume he means every console. And PC, obviously. The high-end version you've seen in demos is completely different to what it'll look like on consoles, however, as according to Sasko, current gen is getting old, so there's some things that won't look as crisp. But the important thing for CD Projekt Red is that it stays fluid and will play on your machine smoothly. Like Tomascovich, Sasko makes it clear that right now, CD Projekt Red is focusing on PC, PS4 and Xbox One. In the future, Cyberpunk 2077 might come out on next-gen consoles, but it sounds like that's not a priority right now. Sasko also says that in The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red put a branching storyline in an open world. Then, Cyberpunk 2077 ups the ante and puts a branching storyline in an open world with branching gameplay.
What that means is that although The Witcher 3 taught CD Projekt Red that a branching storyline is key to immersing players, Cyberpunk 2077 simply allows them to do more. Sasko mentioned that the things you can do changes depending on your class, build, background, and I swear to God, Eva, if you throw any more coins at me.
According to Sasko, including branching gameplay ensures that players are rewarded for their playstyle, making you feel that bit more immersed in Cyberpunk 2077. So there's 10 things The Witcher 3 taught Cyberpunk 2077. If you enjoyed the video, let us know by hitting the like button. Subscribe to Eurogamer for more videos about Cyberpunk 2077, as when it comes out in September, we'll be releasing a bunch of videos showcasing its world, giving you some tips and telling you what we thought of it.
Plus, we put out a video on the channel every single day, so you won't be waiting long for something new to watch.
There, how's it feeling?
Ow! No! Consequences, no!
See you in Night City, Samurai.
We have a city to burn.